Glorious!
Glorious!
I won't give in!
I won't give in!
Till I'm victorious!
And I will defend! I will defend!
Alright, that's enough. Welcome guys, this is the separate show that we're going to have on High and Beyond. This is NXT. I know you think we're biting from WWE, we are. Because that's how much we like NXT.
Yes, exactly. And on that note, NXT on most nights is actually the better show compared to Raw most of the time because they actually do stuff that's meaningful on NXT and actually push younger talent that deserve to be pushed. So on that note, I tend to watch NXT as weekly as I can and stuff just to be up to date, and honestly it's a great show. And on that note, NXT is being run and created by Triple H, which I think that's awesome.
That's definitely been a big boost for NXT. NXT has been the biggest mind-blowing thing that WWE has done in a while, which has made them try all these different things like the Cruiserweight division, upgrading the women's division, all because NXT came with a fresh mind from Triple H himself. And the best news, well, for some to know, there's been some rumors Shawn Michaels might be the new coach over at the Performance Center.
Oh, really?
Which means you have a great Hall of Famer, and I would truly say DX is ruling NXT, which is why NXT is so perfect.
Nice. And the other cool thing about NXT is the fact that that's how Bayley got over, this is how Asuka's getting over, and Shinsuke Nakamura, which everybody loves him to death.
Shinsuke Nakamura is literally hands down one of the greatest Japanese wrestlers in my eyes. Other than Hideo Itami, he's definitely a great wrestler. People don't seem to realize that a lot of great talent that's scattered from all over the world. Yes, they come to the Performance Center, but at the end of the day, they're coming from different places all over the country, all over the globe, just to give you the greatest wrestlers you can find.
Exactly. And the other thing I like about NXT is it really gives people a chance to grow and give good character development. Like Apollo Crews, for instance, he was great over in NXT. As soon as he came over to the main roster, they've been kind of on the iffy side of him. We're pushing 1 minute, not the next minute, but the guy has a lot of potential and he was great in NXT, just like a lot of them are in NXT. My only concern about the NXT people, not the fact that they're on NXT, but the fact that when they tell their time on NXT, when they get called to the main roster, it gets a little scary at that point because they are the bottom in NXT, but then when they come to the main roster, it's up to the writers how they want to handle them, and it's, to tell you the truth, sad in some ways.
I mean, let's face it. All right, so I'll use some clear examples. For one, Apollo Crews. Let's face it here. He's came into NXT. He was a big hit. All he had was just energy, smile, and strength. And that's all he used. He was the biggest hit in NXT for that little bit, but the second he came to the main roster, it just seemed like he dried out. It seemed like all that excitement that came behind the man yelling too easy is now too difficult for him to get his name across. And it just looks sad. What makes it worse, here's another example that I know for a fact that it eats me up the most. NXT first built their greatest tag team, the Ascension. They're pretty much a pretty good team. I know what people think, they're the next Road Warriors and all that. They're not really. They actually was coming with some great aggression, with some good tactical indie wrestling for some tag team maneuvers that you wouldn't think. And the high-low, I know everybody's seen the high-low, but the high-low look explosive from these guys. What made it worse, they did them like Goldberg. They brought him up wearing Goldberg, he was brought in WCW. He's facing jobbers, little people all the time. That's all Ascension was. They was facing little matches all the time. Every time they faced the big match, it's like they had a whole bunch of jobbers to clear the line. Once they made it to the main roster, they're not talking about NXT greatest tag team anymore. They're not talking about being the fiercest competitors around. Literally, they're jobbers for tag team division. How do you go from being the greatest tag team in NXT to jobbers in the main roster? That's the same thing with Neville. That's sad. Neville is a great high-flying champion that came from NXT. Great hit. Still good to this day, but he's treated like shit on the main roster.
Yeah, and another really great tag team that everybody is wicked behind is American Alpha. They were the best tag team in NXT. They're on fire every weekend.
The world's greatest tag team. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's how I see them. They are Kurt Angle's upgraded world greatest tag team. And don't take nothing away from Shelton Benjamin or Charlie Haas.
Right.
They're still good. They were still great.
Yes,
they did their thing.
indeed.
I just feel like American Alpha is the next level. And you know what I really would have seen? If Shelton Benjamin did not get injured, I promise you they would have had him as the mentor.
Oh my God.
American Alpha. That would have been the greatest storyline. Shelton Benjamin coming from the original group of the world greatest tag team. Like, I see a little bit of me in you guys.
I would love to see him in that group. That would be awesome.
Yo, that would be so perfect. He'll be the next mentor like Kurt did them. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the fact that right now currently NXT they're doing the Dusty Rhodes classic tag team tournament thing. I think that's pretty darn cool, and they also have a bunch of other good wrestlers too and everything. The only thing is, right now, I still like NXT though, but a lot of the people that I was wicked behind in NXT are now onto the main roster. Now they have a lot of leftover people such as Liv Morgan, Asuka, Billie Kay, Ember Moon, who's actually really good women's wrestlers. And right now they have a big thing going on between Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe. And one thing that I really got excited for in this past week's NXT was the return of Mickie James coming back at Takeover, and I can't wait till she fights Asuka. That will be a very good match.
Bro, the return of Mickie James to take on Asuka one time at Takeover, was it Toronto?
Toronto, yes.
Yes, Takeover Toronto. Takeover Toronto, speaking of that, NXT's Takeovers has been one of the freshest upbringings of pay-per-view matches you ever really want to see.
Absolutely.
Because it came clear to what it mainly came with. A steady gimmick, a strong storyline that didn't need to be that much, and yet perfect wrestling in the ring. NXT, to me, and everybody else, ever since they started the NXT Takeovers, you realize too, the ratings counts, the numbers, people love NXT TakeOver more than the actual pay-per-views themselves, because these are strong, up-and-coming wrestlers who actually aren't really up-and-coming wrestlers. Half of them are literally legends from the indie scene who said, F it, I need competition. And that's what NXT brought you. Now, I know like Punisher said, they left some scraps. But that's the point of a development company. You're supposed to come up with some new talent every time. You're supposed to get rid of your talent that you feel is ready, and you're supposed to start working on the next bit. That's how it is. That's how it was in the Indies. That's how it was anywhere else. And pretty sure when they had OVW, that was the same thing.
Absolutely. And yeah, and just like the Beast said, that they go from being the Indies to NXT, and that's what helps them get very successful. Take AJ Styles, for example, even though he's on the main roster, but just to get into him a little bit, he was already way over from the Indies and way over from across the world. The reason why he went straight to the main roster is because everybody already knew him and he already had sky-high popularity. Austin Aries also came from the Indies, but he's also in NXT, but it makes sense why he's in NXT, so the crowd can get more familiar with him. So eventually when he makes his run in main roster, people can get behind him a little quicker.
I mean, I don't know. I can kind of argue that a little bit, because let's face it. All right, AJ Styles, he was great enough to come straight to the main roster. What kind of bothers me from being such a wrestling fan, if you could put in AJ Styles that quickly, why not Samoa Joe? Why didn't Samoa Joe come to the main roster? Or better yet, Shinsuke. Why didn't Shinsuke Nakamura come to the main roster instead of NXT? But you know what I found in that? It's competition. It's building. It gives them a fresher look. And a lot of people don't realize, as long as you go through NXT, you're pretty much giving them warm up until you get to the WWE crowd. The only problem is the WWE crowd is more, they're stuck looking for more. I feel like Vince literally choked out WWE fans when it comes to content, creativity, and ideas. Because we're now left with the dumbest ideas, and we're left to where, like I said, the jobber, James Ellsworth, I'm not even sure he's been in NXT. The jobber that came out of nowhere is a bigger hit than anybody on the roster right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, on that note, it's been a great time talking about NXT, and I really like what we all see on NXT, so I hope they just keep the momentum going with their talent, and that way, eventually, when they get called to the main roster, then they'll have an even better time there, too. So, and now, on that last note, I just want to say I'm glad everybody had a chance to watch tonight's episode, and going forward, we're between me and Beast, so while we talk about Raw and SmackDown, we're also going to mix NXT in our discussions as well, so look forward to it in our future shows. I'm really glad that you got to tune into tonight. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and we'll keep this going every week.
Make sure you guys always like, subscribe, share, everything. You know, give some criticism. This is only the first episode. Just like the original show, this is the first episode of This is NXT. Like we said, this is a show that's for NXT itself. It's all about the upbringings of wrestling. And if anything, I think we should throw some indies into this. But let me know. Do y'all want to hear some indies inside the NXT world? Because in the other show, we're keeping it just Raw and SmackDown, Women's Division, Cruiserweight, all that, that's WWE. This show is just like NXT. It's for everyone. We came to take over. We came to change up the game.
Exactly.
So I hope you guys enjoy, like, subscribe, all that good crap. and forever always know we are glorious.
Yes.
Every time we come here into this microphone, every time we come into this camera, every time. Make sure you subscribe. This has been the High and Beyond Show. See you later.
Have a good night.